How's it going, everyone? My name is Michael SK, and welcome back to Higurashi When They Cry, Chapter 4. I was, considering opening this can of drink before or during my, intro here, but the more I look at it, the more bent up it is. I feel like I will just be setting myself up for failure, so I'm going to open it anyways. And okay, it will not open. All right, fantastic. I don't know what to do. That kind of sucks. Okay, I guess I'm kind of just screwed there. Well, good thing I have water on the side. Welcome back, everybody. Last time, we went into Hinamizawa with a tourist, or as a tourist, with somebody offering to give us a tour, and we ran across Rika-chan, who has joined us here. We are now at the shrine to get the best view of the village, or at least that's the so-called best view of the village, and I'd have to agree. And we kind of got into the discussion of the dam protests and all that, a little bit on accident, but it is what it is. At the entrance of a shed that looked like a meeting place, there was a large sign erected with Onigafuchi Guardian's headquarters written in bold brush strokes. You know what? I gotta do something about this drink because I want it, I got it, I need to fix it. Okay, I didn't really fix it, but I did get it open. I can actually drink out of it, hooray! That was their base of operations. To be honest, it was a bit of a letdown. If you asked what I had been imagining, this is a bit embarrassing, but I'd have thought it would be something much more dramatic. With barbed wire fences and barricades. My first impression of the place, though, was completely different from that. It looked like a simple backwater town hall. Because it is. It didn't look like anything other than exactly that. The old folks who were chatting had noticed Rika-chan's appearance, or presence.
Rika-chanじゃないの。もう子供はお家に帰る時間だよ。
ここは僕のお家なのですよ。
The old folks guffawed, or whatever, since she wasn't wrong. From that exchange, I could tell that Rika Furude, or this Rika Furude girl, was loved by everybody.
Makino-san, その人?
Who is this?
電話をくれた観光の人は?
そうですよ。
Wait, is this the mayor?
こちら村長さんね。
Yep.
HinamizawaのHimeyoshi村長さん。
I noticed the name was kind of like, wait, that doesn't sound familiar. But I'm like, oh, these are first names. He smiled brightly, but there was no mistaking he would be scary if he got angry. By the looks of things, this old man was the president of the Onigafuchi Guardians, none other than Kichiro Kimiyoshi himself.
ようこそHinamizawaへ。いかがでしたか？静かでゆっくりしたところでしょう。
ええ、今日一日美しい場所をいくつも堪能させていただきました。貴重な機会をお与えくださったことを感謝します。
へえ、今時の若い方なのにまた真摯な方だね。
喜一郎、赤坂に見晴らしのいいところを案内したいのですよ。
Thinking that the formalities between myself and the mayor had gone on for far too long, Rika-chan butted into the conversation. For her to call the mayor by his first name, I felt it was a little strange, but none of the villagers seemed to mind. A girl of the Furude household, one of the 3 families, she was probably different than the average villager.
赤坂、こっちなのですよ。
Rika-chan tugged at my sleeve. Not resisting, I allowed myself to be pulled over, and waiting for me was a magnificent view.
これはすごい。
It was an observation deck that looked down on the village. They, knowing that this was the best view in the entire village, kept quiet as I stood there awestruck. I was holding a camera, but had completely forgotten to even glance through the viewfinder. This view, no matter what kind of film it was printed on, it wouldn't be able to show everything. If there was a way to explain it, it would only be what I would be able to put into words. It was just such a breathtakingly spectacular view that I struggled to find a comparison. For a while I was left awestruck. I could only stand there and wonder. A cool breeze helped abate the heat rushing through my body. That comfortable sensation also left me speechless. Rika-chan, who had been holding onto my sleeve the entire time, spoke.
僕の一番のお気に入りの場所なのですよ。
As she said that, she showed me another adorable smile. That smile seemed very fleeting. If you ask why, that was because the view from her favorite spot would eventually be submerged under the deep green waters of the dam reservoir.
こんな村が湖底に沈むことになってるなんて信じられないよ。
I said it quietly so that only Rika-chan could hear it. I regretted it as soon as I did, for those words were all too cruel. However, Rika-chan didn't let them cast a cloud on her expression. In fact, she replied with a smile.
沈みませんよ。ダム計画なんて必ずなくなっちゃいますのです。
Well, she predicted that correctly. It was just like a little girl to say something like that. There was no basis for her saying so. It was just her wish.
赤坂はこの村が沈んでしまうと思っていますか？
Perhaps. Well, the thing is that he's not really involved in any of the shit that's going on right now. All he knows is that there are plans for it, and usually when it gets to that political point, you know, bada bing, bada boom.
沈んでほしくなんかないよ。
I knew how important the dam was. I don't. I knew that it was necessary. I don't know anything about necessities of dams. I just didn't want to recognize the sacrifices that would be made. I don't know, like, did the pros outweigh the cons? Like, you're gonna have, what, more than 1,000 people or however many that live in this village get submerged, or their home village is gonna get submerged. They're gonna have to move. A lot of people are gonna struggle with doing so. And, you know, memories, hidden treasures, who knows what else is actually here that they're just gonna have to leave behind. And will that benefit people in the long run? I don't know, but it screws over people in the present time. I agreed with the project in general, but couldn't agree with some of the details. But if it meant that this girl's beloved scenery would be taken away from her, I might be able to object the dam. just this one thing. I might be able to ignore the interests of the nation, the development of Japan, all for the sake of one girl's smile. I'm not really much of a humanist, but how sentimental of me.
沈みませんよ。ダムの計画はもうすぐなくなりますですから。
Her words weren't just hopes and dreams, but were seasoned with a hint of resolve, as if she was talking about an unchangeably predetermined outcome. Well, as surely as the sun rising in the
も
east.
うすぐなくな
Wanting
る。
to ask her why she believed that, I turned around.
はい。なくなりますのですよ。
どうしてそう言い切れるんだい？
それはなのです。
She seemed to want to answer, but as though unable to find the right words, she swallowed back what she was about to say.
赤坂が何をしてもしなくても、ダム計画は今年で終わりになってしまうのです。もう決まっていることなのですよ。
And that was a lie. If something like that had already been decided, then the Onigafuchi Guardians would have no reason to continue existing. From my point of view, it was like they were doing nothing more than throwing themselves into an endless battle. If they knew the dam project was cancelled, it would feel much more relaxed around here. This village, though, could hardly be called relaxed. For evidence of that, I just had to remember how charged the atmosphere was at the checkpoint or at the bus stop. The villagers, with their misplaced resolve, were still fighting. And this girl, even knowing the villagers' grim resolve, had already declared their victory. The villagers throwing themselves into this endless war, and this optimistic girl who said they had already won. That contrast was somehow strange.
どうしてそう思うんだい？何か確信があるなら私に教えてくれないかい？
Rika-chan stayed silent for a while, seemingly choosing what to say.
だって、
だって
Sorry. Fuck. I almost spilled my drink. It's really hard to drink out of it. The top of it is so bent. And plus, I thought they would talk a little bit more. Fuck me. She looked like she was lost on whatever or whether she should continue or not. As if she was troubled on whether it was okay for her to say it, that kind of expression.
決まっていることなのです。他に言いようがないのですよ。
I'm sure there's 1,000 other ways to say it or explain it.
決まっているって言ったって。
It really is just like a little girl to say something like that. I couldn't believe it was actually true. She was the only one saying such things with such confidence. Well, okay, put it into this perspective. If a parent told a child that something was some way with so much assurance, even so it was a lie, that child would stick out for that. A child, for example, would continue to say that Santa was real despite anybody else saying anything else because their parents drove that into their mind. And so did media, and a whole bunch of other shit. A child would stand firm. That's how I see this. Unless, there's something else going on. My real mission, that I had forgotten about during this fun-filled day, resurfaced at the back of my mind. The kidnapping of the minister's grandson. Had the Onagafuchi Guardians kidnapped the minister's grandson and already succeeded in negotiating the cancellation of the dam project? Did Kimiyoshi actually already know that and was just playing dumb? Was that what this girl was really telling me?
赤坂、
The girl called out my name suddenly.
なんだい？
東京へ帰れ。
Uh-oh. I was waiting for something to happen. I mean, come on. Huh? I wasn't only surprised at that sudden command. Ever since I came to this village, I had never once mentioned that I was from Tokyo. Well, based on my accent, she might have been able to guess where I was from. What was I getting so worked up over? It was probably the sudden and complete change in her demeanor.
あなたはさっさと東京に帰った方がいい。
Yeah, demeanor aside, let's talk about her tone of voice that I've never heard before. It sounds extremely mature for what, a 5-year-old?
でないとひどく後悔することになる。
The girl had been holding my sleeve the entire time. She'd been tugging at my sleeve since hurriedly dragging me over to show me this wonderful view. But this was the adorable Rika-chan, who I'd spent the entire day with. There was no way she could have been replaced with a doppelganger when I wasn't looking. She had been holding onto my sleeve this entire time, but somehow this girl was someone other than Rika-chan. She looked like Rika-chan, but she wasn't. She was some girl I had never met before. And that girl had told me in an indifferent voice that I would eventually regret coming to this village from the bottom of my heart.
それがあまりにもみすぼらしくて気の毒な姿だから今のうちから警告してあげているのです。
どうして私が後悔することになる？
Can we talk about like a lot of these characters having different tones of voices that they'll switch to, and it just doesn't make any goddamn sense? Like, alright, we're gonna be a happy and cheerful, girl, and that happy and cheerful girl will have, the sad voice, the obviously happy voice, the normal voice, the angry voice, the serious voice, but then it does a fucking 180 to a whole different character, seemingly. Their whole tone of voice is just, it's like it's a different person speaking for them. Uh-oh.
いちいちうるさいな。
Oh, okay. I mean, I was just bringing up a little something. I couldn't believe that I was hearing such cold words come from Rika-chan's mouth. I just couldn't believe it. Was somebody impersonating her, using ventriloquism or something? Thinking that, I wanted to take a look around, but the girl's gaze had me pinned down and making me unable to move.
あなたの親はあなたが赤信号の横断歩道の真ん中にいるときどうして危ないのかを全部説明し終えるまで引っ張るでしょ。まず歩道まで連れ戻してからなぜ危険なのかを解くでしょ。つまりはそういうこと。
Holy shit. It is so hard to drink out of this can. Like, I guess I should be very cautious of buying drinks off of Amazon, because they really fucked this up. It's a sparkling ice can, if any of you guys have seen that. Basically, just imagine a normal can, but the whole top of it is just, it's been fucked, man. The girl that I'd spent time with, Rika Furude, would not speak like that. She would speak with a cuteness befitting her age, with brief childish remarks, expressing her emotions honestly. She definitely wouldn't speak with such pointed words.
警告はした。勘違いしないでほしいのは、私があなたを嫌いだからこういうことを言ってるわけじゃないってこと。死んでもいい人に危険なんかを教える必要はないのだし。
君は誰だ？リカちゃんじゃない。
As soon as I accused her of not being Rika-chan, she let out a strange, quiet giggle. Where'd the background go? It was a laugh not befitting a child of her age. It was like she was possessed by something. Her change was just that total and complete. Was Rika-chan being attacked by some terrifying phenomenon? Well, actually, maybe. Excuse me, that occult idea came to mind without saying, or without any sort of hesitation, excuse me. Rika-chan is acting strange. Somebody help! Thinking that I'd yell that, I turned to where the mayor was. I immediately realized he was looking at us with a smile. Great, fantastic, we're fucking surrounded. That's right, to him it looked like nothing more than me and Rika-chan fooling around. Yeah, there's no way we can just, run out of here. We're kind of trapped, in a way. He didn't notice that there was something terrifying happening to her.
赤坂の怖がり。
The girl had obviously grasped that I was afraid. Noticing that and calling me a coward, she laughed again. And that cackling girl, approaching me in a strange manner while still laughing, lost her balance and fell flat on her face. Rika-chan fell down. If it was just a while before, I would have extended a hand to help her up without hesitation. But now extending a hand to this ominous girl who looked like Rika-chan, but wasn't, required a bit more courage than I had at the moment.
Me.
The girl cried out thus. She then squirmed upright and dusted herself off. Afterwards, she looked around restlessly as a blank expression crept across her face. You've got to be kidding me. Was she making fun of me? That way of acting. It was as though, after being possessed by something, she had lost her memories of what happened.
冗談だろ。リカちゃん。
Me.
I don't know if Rika-chan had heard me or not. She just cried out like that as if questioning herself.
お客人、リカちゃまもお茶が入りましたよ。
I don't know if we should drink their tea.
塩大福もあるからに、ぜひ食ってきんさいな。
Oh, I mean, if there's snacks, I think the tea's okay. An old lady wearing a smock was waving energetically from the entrance of the office. Hearing that there were snacks, Rika-chan's expression changed.
はーいなのです。
A carefree smile. That was a familiar smile, the one that belonged to the embodiment of my ideal daughter. Any hint of that creepy girl that was just there, spouting sinister words, had vanished.
ほら、リカちゃま。手を洗ってきんさいね。バッチおててにゃ食わせるまんじゅうありんせんね。ちゃんと洗いますですよ。
Rika-chan responded with vigor, running off to the washing station that was along the side of the office. She stopped halfway, turning around to call to me.
早く来ないから、僕は赤坂の分までおまんじゅうが食べられてホクホクなのです。お手手を洗わない人はおまんじゅうが食べられないのですよ。
Oh, don't worry, I got the message. No matter how you looked at it, that was Rika-chan. Those words and the way that she said them, no matter how you heard them, they were definitely Rika-chan's.
ほんでお客人、大人なんだからお手本を示してやってください
The old lady urged me to wash my hands. Without any resistance, I lined up beside Rika-chan at the wash station, Splish splash. I stared at Rika-chan, intent on washing her hands properly, like she had probably learned at school.
みー、間違っていますか？
間違いって。
僕のお手手の洗い方です。金シールを4個しかもらったことないです。僕はお手手を洗うのがきっと下手なのですよ。
間違ってなんかないよ。
Okay, real talk. Is it you wash your hands, like you get your hands wet with the water as it's getting hot, because hot water or warm water is necessary for the bacteria killing or whatever. Then you get the soap, then you lather that shit on, and then you do like 20-second wash or whatever, right? Is that how you do the process?
それだけしっかり洗えてれば十分だよ。
That's how I've always done it, but I see people, they'll do soap, then, scrub, and then wash. For me, it's water, wet the hands, let that shit get warm, soap, scrub, then wash with that warm-ass water. But then again, I'm using more water because now I'm having to wait on my ass to quickly, get that soap everywhere and scrub it all in to wash it off. Why am I getting so keen on this?
それだけではダメなのですよ、赤坂。ちゃんとたわしを使って爪の間の赤も落とさないと金シールはもらえないのです。
I don't have nails, or at least I barely do. And if you do a good enough job of a wash, like if you really scrub like the tips of your fingers, like it'll get under there.
リカちゃんは真面目で偉いな。
ニパー、赤坂に褒められましたのです。
No matter how you looked at it, it was Rika-chan. There was no trace of that girl from before. Exactly what was that sinister girl?
リカちゃん、さっきのあれはどういう意味だい？さっきリカちゃんは私に東京へ帰れってそう言っただろ。
言いましたのですか？
I was at a loss for words. She didn't remember what that girl just now had said. Like I would ever believe something as occult as that could happen. Like I would ever believe that Rika-chan could be possessed by that strange girl and say those creepy things.
リカちゃんが確かにそう言ったよ。
Her expression told me that. Despite my saying so, she had no idea. She wasn't playing dumb. She actually didn't know. Exactly what was that just now? Just as Rika-chan had... I let a look of confusion creep across my face. The two of us both looking like we had no idea what was going on must have certainly been a humorous sight to behold. While partaking of tea and snacks, I was shown a propaganda film shot by the Guardians that highlighted their resistance efforts. Older folks talked passionately on how long and grueling the fight against the dam was, but they all fell on deaf ears. I was transfixed by Rika-chan, who had heard these stories countless times before and was nodding off. Eventually, Rika-chan noticed I was staring at her and smiled as she rubbed her eyes. That smile was Rika-chan's after all. There was no hint of that sinister shadow. After that, my unreasonable fear of Rika-chan lessened with the passing of time, but I can by no means forget what had happened. It eventually grew dark. The mayor said that they had prepared dinner, but I said I would come again tomorrow and took my leave. I had to return to the hotel and file my regular report with the section chief.
そうですか。では、また明日もぜひいらっしゃい。お電話さくれれば、すぐに迎えを出しますんでね。
ご好意感謝します。ぜひ明日も遊びに来ようと思います。
ねえ、さしてあげてくださいな。あんた、リカちゃまに大層気に入られたみたいだしね。
Uh-huh.
赤坂は明日も来ますですか？明日は5次元で終わりですから、3時くらいに来てくれると嬉しいのですよ。
Please come again. That pure smile urged me to do so. There wasn't a trace of that evil aura. Depending on what happened next, all that might end up as nothing other than my hallucination. And thinking about it logically, if the daughter of the Furude household, one of the 3 families, had taken a liking to me, then this was a strong foothold for my investigation from here on out. It was like a free ticket for a reason to visit Hinamizawa. If only I could treat that little incident as a figment of my imagination, and then having this girl who was the embodiment of my ideal daughter grow so attached to me wasn't bad either. I had successfully dove into the belly of the Onigafuji Guardians, and had the mayor, as well as other important members of the Alliance, welcome me with open arms. This was a great turn of events. However, I still felt uneasy. Getting back to the hotel, I forced down an almost painfully cold beer until I could clear my mind. The shock from that incomprehensibly strange incident continued to torment me. I mean, it's not the weirdest incident that we've seen so far, but it does make me think, because this is the first time that we've seen Rika act differently. We've seen that in Mion, we've seen it in Rena. I don't even know what to think about Sotoko anymore, but yeah, before we jump into the tips, the terrifying Shrine Girl is the name of that one, of that achievement. Oh hey, there's the coach in that one, and a young Mion, or Shion, one of the two. So I don't know if you can really call this a prediction, but the coach, or the doctor, whatever, either one, I guess. Takeichi, he said that he might have been experiencing, or he alluded to multiple personality disorder. At least that's what I got from it in the last chapter. I don't know if it was ever said. That's what I predicted, if anything. Like, it kind of made some sense, maybe, that maybe some of the actions that we were committing weren't happening. I don't know. That could have just happened here, where, unknown to Rika, that there is another personality of sorts who is sinister and all that just pops up and chooses when to pop up. She's just waiting around, you know? But I don't know. Just a little trying to stay away from all from the occult shit, I guess you can say, and try to think about it in a logical way. But I don't know. We could just feign ignorance and say, "Oh no, there's some weird shit happening in this village." I mean, there is, because I can't explain any of it. Going smoothly. Nothing is going smoothly here. The sound of the car grew closer, followed by the sound of it braking as the engine cut out. At that moment, his up until now lackadaisical, or whatever the fuck, footsteps grew decisive as the man in the room, dashed up to the wall beside the window and carefully peered outside. It was his comrade's car. Even so, he still didn't relax his guard. Eventually, the sound of footsteps approached the door. Thump. Thump, thump, thump. It was the passcode.
帰ってきたね。開けちょくれな。ああ、お疲れ。今開ける。
After the locks were undone and the door opened, a man appeared, his arms laden with swollen plastic grocery bags. The bags in his hands had Sevens Mart written on them, with bread and milk cartons able to be glimpsed within. The contents of those bags were then spread out over a sheet on the floor.
カップラーメン買ってきちょん。お湯沸かせな。小僧はどうしてる？
Oh, these are the kidnappers.
ずっと寝てる。手がかからなくて助かるよ。うんこ垂れるときは騒ぐけどな。漏らさせんな。弁習は万一のとき、やばいって。わかってるよ。猿グツワは定期的にチェックんな。外れてもまずいん。きつくも締め付けちゃあん。窒息させたら意味がなん。わかってるって。あれ？携帯コンロのガス管頼まなかった？もうガスねえよ。聞いてねえ。だは。マジかよ。ついてくれよ。くそ、くそ。
He rattled the portable stove as he struggled to get it to light. Seeing that, the man who went to buy supplies let out a deep sigh, and with a backwards glance at that sight, began to walk to the corner of the room. The kidnapped boy was sprawled out on a sheet that was spread out on the floor.
小僧、元気かいね。
And of course, the man didn't assume the kid was able to hear that question. That was because the boy's ears were plugged, with his eyes and ears thoroughly covered by packing tape. Also, his mouth was gagged with a thin, twisted-up towel. Because of that, the boy was unable to close his mouth properly, his cheeks sticky with his own saliva. Of course, that wasn't the only reason. Both his arms were tied tightly behind his back with a leather belt.
今んところ順調らし。命の心配はない。お前のじいさんがしぶりよったん。耳たぶの一つも切り落とさなきゃならんかったんけ。やらんくて済んで助かりよんよ。本家はこうと決めたら鬼やんね。どん
Oh.
な残酷なこと命令するかも想像つかん。
Well, that points us in that direction.
その本家が小僧に傷一つつけるな言うてんから、とにかく順調なんだろんな。
大臣はダム計画を撤回で水面下工作。Hinamizawaダム計画は無期凍結へ。小僧の解放はいつ頃になるんだろうな。早く一服したいもんだぜ。
So I want to just predict, based on all the information we have, which really isn't much, but the experiences we have and the knowledge from previous chapters, I believe these are the Yakuza that are connected with the Sonozakis, especially since they brought up the main family.
本家が決着のタイミング測ってるらしい。いつになるかはあらんが、近いうちやんな。
Also, they don't sound like they're from Hinamizawa, from the way that their language is put out here. They do seem to be kind of like thugs, using thug language.
よかったな小僧。もうじき解放されるぞ。
The men didn't know if their voices were heard by the boy. For him, there was nothing he could do but continue to sleep to escape his harsh reality.
それよん、ガスをどうするんね。ラーメン食えんよ。ガス切れたなら言うてえなもう。
Well, I kind of cleared that up. And, who knows? With what Rika was saying, the whole damn deal might be done for sure. She might know something. I don't know. Why I like rainy days. I know I don't like rainy days. The weather forecast had predicted that it wouldn't rain at all this entire week. And it's not that I hate sunny days or anything. When every day is the same, unchanging sunny weather, however, anybody would long for a rain cloud or two. Yeah, I live in California. Things are tough. If it's simply clear skies for a week, a month, a year, anybody would long for a rain cloud or two. The weather specialist said that they had carefully scrutinized a large quantity of past data, so it wouldn't be so likely for the forecast to be wrong. I knew as much. But even then, there was occasionally a day where I was hoping that it would be wrong, as I stared up into the clear blue sky. Was I being mischievous in hoping so? I waited and waited, feeling almost suffocated by the boring blue sky, undisturbed by a single cloud. If you could die from that suffocating feeling, then the population of Earth probably wouldn't have increased to this point. In other words, the only person who was being suffocated by this was me. And so, I welcomed the summer evenings where not even the weather forecast could predict a sudden shower. If I were to explain it like this, would you understand a bit more about how I feel? Let's say that tonight's dinner was going to be curry rice. But when you're called down to the dinner table, what was waiting for you was instead an eggplant and bell pepper stir fry. This is just on your mother's whim, by the way. I would be delighted with such whimsy. I don't really like eggplants or bell peppers, but still I would be delighted. The fact that the pre-established routine of curry rice had been broken would be amusing. If tonight was repeated 100 times, and 100 times you had to eat curry rice, yet for just this one night, that was changed to an eggplant and bell pepper stir fry, there's no way you couldn't enjoy that chance happening. I hate pre-established routines. I really hate when things are all decided beforehand. I have no love for boredom. I always get my hopes up that something today will be different from yesterday, no matter how trivial. Excuse me. It's been decided that this entire week starting today was going to be clear skies. The weather forecast decided upon it, so the god of weather must also feel obliged to do so. But who's to say that a rain cloud might not just show up one day on a whim? It's something that nobody could say for sure. But because that thought remains in this world, a creature such as myself can continue living without being suffocated. Tomorrow will probably be a hot day, or a hot and clear day. However, I'm the only one that knows that predetermined fate, even with but a slim 1% chance, sometimes changes. Hoping for that 1%, I hung upside down weather charms on my sunlit eaves throws. In the end, I spend my days waiting for those unexpected things in my life to happen. I pondered why I was hoping for it, why I was hoping for a rain cloud, and the answer was simple. I've had my fill of clear skies. Then why was I hoping for a rain cloud? The answer was simple. The fact that it was going to be sunny tomorrow was boring. So why was I hoping for a rain cloud? In the end, it doesn't really matter whether it rains or shines tomorrow. Basically, it was just that the rain would water my heart, which was withered from boredom. And that's why, rather than a TV drama where the plot's already been decided, I prefer to look up at the sky. I have no idea who the fuck we were following in that. I don't know what any of that had to do with anything. Barley tea and black tea and a millstone. See what these two are up to. And which sister it is, because I cannot tell.
だいぶ血圧も良くなってきましたよ。そのお年でこれだけの回復力があるのは、いやいや、感服するばかりです。お嬢さんなら100でも200でも元気にお過ごしになれますね。
I'm gonna have to assume that this is Mio since we're here at the main house. The young doctor in his medical coat said that as he undid the blood pressure cuff from the arm of the old woman tucked away at her futon. I started dying. We're seeing more and more characters. Also, I don't think we've ever heard her talk, so I guess this is an absolute first. The old lady, Oryo, laughed faintly with a broad smile on her face. And then, turning towards the sliding door, she called out in a strong voice. The sound of rushed footsteps from the hallway drew closer until finally the door slid smoothly open. What it revealed was a young girl. It looked like the old lady's granddaughter.
シミコさんは今日はもう上がっちゃったよ。何かよ。
いや、入江の先生に麦茶を入れたってんな。
うん、了解。抹茶も飲む？紅茶の方がいい？砂糖もミルクもたっぷり？
わしが加減するから入れんでええんね。砂糖壺とミルクも一緒に持ってきてんな。
はいはい。
The girl named Mion, after giving a rather uninterested response to her taskmaster of a grandmother, returned to the hallway.
先生の麦茶は来客用のガラスジャーに入れるんよ。ちゃんとお座布団もつけてな。水滴もちゃんと拭き取っとくんね。
わかってるって、うっさいな。
A tired voice wafted a reply from down the hallway. The apathetic tone of voice was far from unusual. The old lady let a wry smile slip across her face as she chided the girl.
しょうがないやっちゃな。叱られるうちが離んねえ、なんたく。
お嬢さん、まあ、そこまでは言わなくても、ミオンちゃんも若いなりに頑張ってますから。
あれの母親もな、しょうがないやっちゃったんね。よう似とる。
で、その母親の母親もまたそっくりなんじゃないですか?
The old lady burst out laughing. Her expression showed that she hadn't taken the comment the wrong way.
入江先生、申し訳ない。症状を開けてもらえんけんね。風が涼しそうだわ。
The cool chirping of the Higurashi had at some point started leaking through the gap in the doorway. Irie stood up and opened the door a bit. A refreshing breeze pushed out the stale air that had built up in the room.
日中はだいぶ暑くなったように思うんですが、まだ朝夕は涼しいですね。夕べは少し肌寒いくらいでした。
そんな朝夕もまた南沢のいいところな。
Irie replied with a smile as he returned to sit on the cushion beside the old lady. And then the two of them for a little while soaked in the voices of the Higurashi.
わしゃ100まで生きにせ。もうしばらくは死ねんよ。ダムの剣、きっちり蹴りつけるまでは、勘の蓋かって収まらんわ。
国が一度決めたことを撤回するのは、なかなか難しいでしょうね。
国のやることはな、いつの世も、イシウス回すみたいなもんね。そんでも、だいぶ重いやっちゃ。
イシウスですか？
知らんねか、イシウス。
No, I do not. Irie quickly affirmed that of course he knew that, or what the old lady was talking about, for he knew full well what Oreo didn't like having her stories interrupted.
国のイシウスはな、なんでもゴリゴリ引いちまう。
I know what it is.
大したもんよ。でもな、簡単には回らない。重いイシウスなんねんな。たくさんの人間が、せーのってやって、ようやくじりじりと動き出す。そんなイシウスなんよ。
Irie pursed his lips, listening quietly to what she was saying. Eventually, Mion returned with some tea laid out on a tray. Seeing that Oreo was talking and in a good mood, she quietly knelt down and laid out the sets for the barley and black tea, careful not to interrupt.
だから、一度回り始めたら、簡単には止められんね。回し始める一番初めが一番重い。それが嫌だから、みんな手を休めんと、ゴリゴリ回し続けるんね。
摩擦係数の話でしょ。確かにバッチャの話、理屈はあるね。
ちゅうことはだ。何かの間違いで突然イシウスが止まっちまったら、また回すにはどえらい力がかかる。ちゅうこったな。
確かに、一度中断した計画をもう一度動かすのに必要なエネルギーはかなりのものでしょうね。
簡単には止められんイシウスだけどな。一度止めれば二度とは回らん。
Oh, and they'll make sure of it.
そういうイシウスよ。
イシウスを止めるいい手があればいいんですがね。
When Irie responded with that, Mion and the old lady suddenly sunk into silence. Irie, instinctively thinking he had said something rude, searched in a small panic for the words to correct himself. But that silence wasn't the result of rude words. For what crept across Mion and the old lady's faces were contemptuous smiles. Yeah. These fuckers. These psychotic fuckers. The atmosphere surrounding Irie suddenly froze, leaving him flabbergasted, thinking that the scornful smiles creeping across both of their faces was the result of some mistake of his. He could only grow afraid. Maybe the coach is pretty sane. It hadn't been that long at all since he was enveloped by silence. However, unable to stand it, Irie could only let out a weak laugh. Irie's laugh eventually spread to Mion and the old lady. Not knowing exactly what they were laughing at, their laughter left a lingering chill. The only ones not laughing were the Higurashi, who continued their simple and unchanging chorus. Hell yeah. I listened to the Higurashi on repeat on Spotify. I hope you guys do too. All right, let us jump into the next one and we'll wrap it up here. Oh, fuck. God damn it. Okay, hold up. Let's pick up the phone first. The phone suddenly rang. I woke up in a hurry. The clock read 9 p.m.
しまった。定時連絡の時間を寝過ごした。
Okay, there we go. I picked up the receiver.
赤坂様。
Okay, we'll just end it there. Yeah, I didn't want to start the next episode with the fucking ringing of the phone. That would suck. Or have to end this episode with the ringing of the phone. See, listening to crickets, that's a lot better. It really suits this. But thank you for watching this episode, guys. This was a fun one. Definitely got a little weird here and there, but there's a lot of things I need to consider for sure. I mean, I'm still asking myself a whole bunch of questions, and there's a lot of questions that were thrown up from the last 3 fucking chapters. A lot that I still have not been able to answer, and in a way, some of them have come back up. It's just a lot of considering, I guess you can say. And while I do that considering, we'll just continue to trek on forth. And I hope you will all join me for that trekking in the next episode. Thank you for watching this one. If you enjoyed, be sure to leave a like, subscribe, all that fancy jazz, and I will see you guys next time. Take it easy.